The NBA play-in tournament is wrapping up, and the NBA playoffs start on Saturday. So today, whether in round one or all the way to the NBA Finals, I'm going to give you guys my full playoff predictions in today's video. Should be tons of fun. Let me know your predictions in the comments. Let's get into it. Now, of course, only one team can win the NBA Finals. So if your favorite team is in the playoffs and they don't come out on top, don't be mad at the comment. Don't be mad at me in the comment section. Just let me know why. Let me know why you think this or that should be different, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I possibly can. I respond to every single comment, right? So now here in the Eastern Conference, my favorite team is the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're hosting either the Miami Heat or the Atlanta Hawks. I think it goes without question that the Miami Heat are going to be a tougher first round matchup due to Eric Spoelstra being one of the greatest minds this game has ever seen, due to Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Andrew Wiggins, all of them having significant deep playoff runs and experience in their careers. It's going to be tough to, I guess, get them out in the first round in quicker fashion because that's what we want to do as the number one seed. We want to get these teams out of the way as quick as possible because it's only going to get tougher from here on out. But I do think, regardless of who we play, it's going to be a 4-1 series. So I have the Cavaliers moving on in 5 games. Now, for Indiana Milwaukee, this year just feels like either Jokic or Giannis are just going to go on this magical get on my back kind of a run, kind of like 2018 LeBron James, where despite having lackluster talent around them, they're going to will their teams farther than where they probably should end up. But for Milwaukee in this series, of course, no Damian Lillard. He has blood clots. He's done for the season. If he comes back, it will be a miracle, right? Especially on such a short turnaround. But for this series, I think it's going to be fun for a couple of reasons. Giannis, it's his first playoff series in 3 years due to injuries the past 2. And Giannis this year against Indiana has dominated. 30 points a game, 12 rebounds, 7.5 assists with 3 combined steals and blocks with that as well. For Indiana, you come into this series, Pascal's a little bit banged up, but you're deeper. You have a severe head coaching advantage, in my opinion, and you have the home court behind you. For those reasons, I'm going to give Indiana the edge. Let's say in a 7-game series, 4-3, Indiana comes out on top. New York and Detroit is going to be a fun and defensive series, just like the history has always been between these two teams. But I will start with this in this series. 2 years ago, these head coaches matched up, different team for one, as J.B. Bickerstaff was in Cleveland. But Tom Thibodeau just completely outcoached, outclassed. He embarrassed J.B. Bickerstaff with his rotations, with his adjustments. He just mind-boggled J.B. Bickerstaff in that first-round series, which is why the Cavaliers went home early, and honestly, they were embarrassed as a Cavaliers fan, right? Now JB is in Detroit. Has he learned from the last 2 playoff trips in Cleveland? We're going to have to wait and find out, right? I do want to say that both teams come into this series healthy, outside of Jaden Ivey, who broke his leg a couple months ago, but he might be coming back, apparently, if Detroit can make a deep enough run. There's 2 great defenses in this series, and I think that Detroit, coming in as the road team in this series, they remind me of the Knicks just 2 years ago when they came in hungry, defensive-led, and they were just ready to shut everybody up and prove a point. Detroit comes into this series reminding me of New York a few years ago. Of course, we have the 2 star-studded guards in this matchup with Brunson on one side, Cade on the other. There's so much young talent in this game. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. But I do think that the experience, both on the head coaching side and the player side, is going to be why I'm going to go with the Knicks here in a 6-game series. Maybe even a 5-game series, but it's just super tough, competitive, 1-2 score games. But the Knicks, with their experience, just come out on top at the end. But that is my opinion there. I think the Knicks can survive without Brunson having a 30-point game. I don't know if the Pistons can survive without Cade having a 30-point game on a nightly basis. And I'll leave it at that. For Boston and Orlando, they have the 2 best defenses in the NBA. So don't expect a lot of scoring, especially in a playoff format. But I just think that Boston's too deep. They're still the team to beat, in my opinion, when they're fully healthy. I don't know if there's a team on the planet that can beat Boston. So despite Paolo and Franz being some of the most talented younger stars in the game, Boston's going to sweep them, and that sets up our second round in the Eastern Conference. In the West, this is a lot of the same here with Oklahoma City versus whoever makes it out of the play-in tournament. Oklahoma City's just too deep. They're too hungry. They're too motivated to not only prove why they have the MVP of the league, but they want to get back and to avenge their early exit from last year's playoffs. So for the Thunder, I'm going to have them sweeping whoever comes out in the first round. But again, I could see it kind of being, maybe AD gets the Mavericks a game. Maybe, Ja Morant just goes crazy and they win a game, game 3 or something on their home court. I don't think those series get interesting at all. Maybe a game, but again, that's kind of stretching it with how much depth and defense. And now they're healthy. They're in Oklahoma City. I'm going to have them sweeping whoever in the first round. Denver hosts the LA Clippers in the first round, hosting by the Mile High. But for Denver, you come into this series, of course, with the best player in the world, MVP or not. Jokic averaged a 30-point triple-double, led his team to a top 4 seed despite having play-in level talent around him. And no head coach at this point in time. So this is going to be an uphill climb despite the home court advantage in this series because the Clippers have been hot. They've won 16 of their last 18 games, and they have one of the best defenses in the NBA this season. The offense has actually been the question with them all season long, as they've actually had one of the worst amongst the contenders in the league, talking about the LA Clippers. But over the last 18 games with Kawhi and Harden healthy and playing, that has gone out the window. So you can't really look at the offensive numbers from the regular season when you're talking about the Clippers. But for this series, the X factor is Kawhi's health. If Kawhi is healthy, I'm going to roll with a hot hand, a team that has a severe head coaching advantage at this point in time in the LA Clippers. But if Kawhi gets hurt at any point in this series, I'm going to go with Jokic. I'm going to roll with the best player in the world and an okay supporting cast around him. And I'm going to have Jokic advancing if Kawhi's not healthy. So that is the X factor. If Kawhi's healthy, I'm going to have the Clippers in 6. If Kawhi is not healthy, and let's say he gets hurt in game 1 or 2, I'm going to have the Nuggets winning in probably 6 or 7 on the flip side of that. So Clippers in this case, I'm hoping and I'm praying that Kawhi Leonard's healthy. And in that case, I'm going to have them moving on to set up a very interesting second round matchup. The J.J. Redick-led Lakers, something that I've never thought I would say, have won 50 games, and they are the 3 seed in the Western Conference in this year's playoffs. And oh, by the way, they pulled off a trade for Luka Doncic, JJ's former teammate. Crazy season it has been, but they are hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves in this series, and this series has 2 of the greatest young playoff performers of all time, and I don't say that lightly. Luka has had 50 playoff games in 4 trips, averaging 31, 9, and 9. Incredible numbers. He's had a finals trip on his resume, and outside of that, one of the most decorated playoff resumes even in his younger career. Ant, on the other side of things, 27 games in 3 trips, and he's averaging 28, 6, and 6 with a Western Conference Finals trip under his name. Plenty of upsets along the way as well. They met in the Western Conference Finals last year. Now, different scenery for Luka Doncic, as I mentioned, but this is still going to be a star-studded guard matchup in this first-round series. Now, I do want to say, I haven't even got to the point that, hey, LeBron is in this series. We still have Austin Reeves. We still have the Western Conference Finals runner-up last year in the Minnesota Timberwolves as a whole. This series has a lot of star talent in it, right? A lot of good coaching matchup, or a good coaching matchup as well. But I do think that when you look at some of the outside key factors, when you look at late game shot making ability, I trust Luka and man. Okay, they're on 1A, 1B, right? Outside of those guys, I trust LeBron more than Julius Randle. I trust Austin Reeves more than Julius Randle. And when it comes down to stuff like that, it's huge because Julius Randle's not the greatest playoff performer or late game shot making player or decision maker for that regard in his career. Not great in the playoffs. So when you talk about late game shot making ability, I'm going to give that edge to the Lakers. They also have the home court. That goes to the Lakers. They also have a depth advantage for which, to me, I'm going to say the Lakers have a pretty big depth advantage over the Timberwolves. So when you look at this, all of these underlying key factors and also having the best player in the series go to the Lakers, I'm going to have them advancing here in this one. Lakers in 5 in honor of Shannon Sharpe. Lakers move on to keep LeBron's 5th ring title hopes alive. Now, the Houston Rockets shocked the world this season, as before the year, I, of course, always give you guys my predictions on records. I thought they would be a 6 seed, right? Around that range. Maybe they make it out the play in. And hey, they get valuable playoff experience in 2025. But they shocked even me. They were the number 2 seed, winning 50 plus games, one of the best defenses in the NBA by a lot of younger players, which you don't really see. And they just shocked the world, point blank, period. They come into this series and they have a head coach that has been to the finals. They have a player in Fred VanVleet who was arguably the finals MVP the year that Toronto won the finals. And Dylan Brooks of course, has some experience under his belt, but he's more of an agitator than anything, right? For this Houston Rockets team, they are led by youth, and I do think that's going to come into a factor here because Golden State on the other side, they have a head coaching experience advantage. They have the player playoff experience advantage as far as the players are concerned. And they have guys like Steph and Dre that are trying to cap off this dynasty that they've made there in Golden State. They have a player in Jimmy Butler who has been to the finals twice, yet to come out victorious. So he's trying to get on top of the mountain. Maybe third time's the charm for Jimmy Butler is what I'm trying to get at there. For Golden State in this series, with the advantages and the playoff experience going to them, and I do think that matters in the playoff setting, I'm going to give the advantage to the Warriors. Now, I do want to say that this series reminds me of the Kings and Golden State series from a few years back, where Sacramento came in hot. They were the young, fun team, but it took a 50.7 Game 7 performance from Stephen Curry just to get the Warriors to advance. I can see that happening in this series as well. Maybe not 50 points, right? But I'm going to have the Warriors in a very tough 1-2 score game series, and the Warriors will come out on top in 6 games because experience does matter, and that sets up an age-old rivalry in round 2. Back to the Eastern Conference, and we're going to kick it off here with the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Indiana Pacers. I just think that Cleveland has more as far as a top-to-bottom roster construction, as far as versatility, as far as defense and shot-making ability. I trust Cleveland more in that regard. I do want to say that in the season series matchups, which don't always really matter in the playoffs, Indiana was 3-1, and that they did that despite Tyrese, Miles Turner, Pascal Siakam. Their numbers weren't great against the Cavaliers in the regular season. It was the supporting cast guys like Nesmith, like Nembhard, like McConnell, and Obi Toppin to step up, and they actually won the Indiana Pacers those games. It wasn't necessarily the star players. But I do want to say this series is going to come down to which head coach is going to adjust and adjust better between, of course, Rick Carlisle on one side, and then you got the Cavaliers coach, who I can't remember for some reason. Call me a Cavaliers fan, man, but Atkinson. There we go. Kenny Atkinson, right? It's going to come down to who can adjust better in this series, but overall, I think Cleveland just has more as far as the things I mentioned before, not to mention Cleveland has some of the best fans in the world. Selfishly, I'll say that. Cleveland moves on, let's say, in a 6-game series. Boston and New York, historic series as it is, and this is going to be a series where you should expect a 6-7 game series. But ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you this. This is why, and this is when, I think Boston will prove to the world they're still the team to beat. I think this is where Boston turns up. I think, hey, first round, you had a tougher, lower scoring series against Orlando, but you still swept them. This one, I'll give the Knicks a game. I might even give them game 1. But after that, I think Boston turns it up. I think they take care of business. And I'm going to say Boston wins the series in 5 games in dominant fashion, because I think Boston, what I like so much about them is the fact that Jason Tatum can have an off night. He can have an off series. Kristaps doesn't even need to play. You got Jaylen Brown who can have an off night or an off series, and they can still survive. They can still dominate despite having some of these key players in the rotation not playing at their best. Whereas New York, on the other side, I don't know if Brunson can have an off night. I don't know if he can have an off series, and the Knicks still come out on top in that one, especially as the road team. I'm going to have the Boston Celtics here in 5, moving on to set up the Eastern Conference Finals that I think we're all expecting. The Cavs, Boston Celtics, we'll get back to that in a second. Back to the Western Conference, and we're going to kick it off here with the Thunder hosting the LA Clippers. This could be, due to the head coaching experience and the player experience in the playoffs, could be a crazy upset in round number 2, as the Clippers could go on to the Western Conference Finals. However, it all depends on Kawhi's health, so that is always a big factor in that regard. you do have two guards here that are playing at all NBA levels and for what it matters against their former teams. Shea, of course, drafted by the Clippers. He always dominates the Clippers. I think this year the Thunder were 4-0 against the Clippers, and that's because Shea was averaging like 31 and 8.5 a game. On the flip side, Harden is turning back the clock a bit to what he was doing in Houston. Now, I was saying all season long, and you can fact check me on this, that Harden's impact, I was arguing, was similar on this Clippers team as it was to those MVP years in Houston. Of course, his numbers weren't resembling that early on in the year, but the impact was there. And I really believe that, especially when Kawhi Leonard was sidelined. But the numbers are now there again. Now, it's not the triple double numbers, right, as they were in his MVP days, but he sure, it feels like that when you're watching Harden. It feels like at any point in time, he could just turn it up. He can go ISO for a quarter straight and just single-handedly win his team the game. Harden's insane for his longevity, and I think he goes underappreciated. But again, he's playing his former team to a degree here against the Thunder. I think that this game comes down to Kawhi Leonard's health, and that's the X factor for this entire playoff run for the Clippers. If Kawhi's healthy for this entire series, I think he goes 7 games. But I'm still going to give the advantage to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're too deep. Kawhi Leonard only played in one of the 4 regular season games, which happened to be the closest game out of those 4. Go figure, right? But I just think that the Thunder, they're too deep. They have the defense. They're going to have the home court behind them. Despite some of the other things not being in their favor, I think this is a great, it's going to be a great series for Thunder fans to be excited about, no matter how the rest of this playoff run turns out for you Thunder fans. I'm going to have the Thunder moving on here to go to the Western Conference Finals, getting one step closer to their dreams of the Larry O'Brien Trophy. There we go, right? Now we have the Lakers and the Golden State Warriors, an age-old rivalry where there's so many layers to this story over the history of Jimmy, Steph, LeBron's relations, just those 3, right? But then you have Luka in the mix. You got J.J. Redick, a first-year head coach in the mix against an experienced head coach in Steve Kerr. 2 great shooters when they were playing, of course, at the NBA level themselves. This is a series that there's so much to play for, man. I mean, Steph, LeBron, they're racing for their 5th NBA ring. Draymond in that mix as well. Steve Kerr in that mix as well. But for the first-timers, of course, you have all the younger players in this series, right? But you got guys like Jimmy Butler, who has been there twice, hasn't come out on top. One of those years, he lost to LeBron. He's looking for his first. Maybe the 3rd time's the charm. He still needs to get past the Lakers, however. For Luka, I mean, he got there last year. And this is a guy that's such a decorated playoff performer. For him to not have a ring kind of sounds crazy at this point in his career. This could be the year he gets his first. But he needs to beat an esteemed dynasty in the Golden State Warriors. I'm not going to go Lakers in 5, and I'm not going to go Lakers in 7. I will go with Lakers in 6. On the road, it's not the same environment in Golden State as it once was, of course, when they switched arenas. I'm going to go with the Lakers in 6. I think the 77 effect is real, and we'll talk about that in a moment. I think the Lakers come out on top. I think LeBron gets the edge over Curry in the playoffs again. Of course, he has a history of that in the Western Conference side of things, not in totality. But, I mean, hey, LeBron gets over Steph in this one, and it's because of Luka Doncic. And, hey, I'm excited. It's going to set up a Lakers-Thunder Western Conference Finals. Boys, that one's going to be fun. But here we are, Final Four. We have the 1-2 and the 1-3. Some of the top teams across the league. And in my opinion, you can argue these are the top 4 teams in the league as they've been in my power rankings for a couple months now. Now, for the Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics, we'll start there. This series is going to be a battle of my heart and mind. When I tell you this, as a fan of the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'm going to be rooting for them. I want them to win. I want them to prove the world wrong and make it to the NBA Finals, whether win or lose. But I just, when I have to turn my analyst cap on, when I have to come onto the show for you guys and give you guys my honest prediction, the Boston Celtics are the team to beat. And when you want to look deeper into it, sure, I think the Cavaliers are going to fight. They're going to make this series interesting, and I do think Boston wins in 6. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to a series where both teams check all the boxes of having the depth, the star power, the late game shot making ability, the coaches. It comes down to those late game shot making ability. And when you rank the top three in this series, I would say Tatum's number one, Jaylen Brown is number two, then you have Donovan Mitchell, and then you get into the rest of the Cavaliers starters. So when it comes down to it, I just don't know if Donovan Mitchell can beat the Boston Celtics. So I'm going to go with the Boston Celtics. They're still the team to beat, in my opinion. I do want to say the Cavaliers give them their toughest test yet, and we push it to 6 games. But Boston will represent the Eastern Conference and try and repeat as NBA champions. First time that would have happened in some time. Now in the Western Conference, you got the 1 seed in the Oklahoma City Thunder hosting the LA Clippers. Home court will be a big factor in this series. For the Thunder, you come to this in this series with less experience on all, factors across the board. And you don't have, to a degree, there's different motivations in this series. For the Thunder, you're just trying to prove the world wrong. You're just trying to prove, hey, we're young, but we're hungry. We're ready for the moment, and we want to represent our conference and, of course, go and win the NBA Finals. And for the Lakers, you got legacy on the line. You got legacy on the line as far as their motivation, and I think that is heavier in this series. Now, I do want to say in a 7-game series, there's no way that this is a sweep. There's no way that this series goes 5 games. This will be a tough, grinded out series that goes multiple games, but I'm going to have the Lakers in 6. And you know why? It's the 77 effect. I need to get that tattooed because that's honestly my biggest saying on this channel as far as when I defend Luka Doncic. I was on the train last year at the midseason mark. I said if they can get a center, they're going to the NBA Finals. Don't believe me? Go fact check me, right? And hey, the Mavericks got a center. They got Daniel Gafford, and they went to the NBA Finals. Luka is that special. And I'm saying that in this series, Luka will dominate. But even if he doesn't, the Lakers can survive without Luka being Superman. The Oklahoma City Thunder cannot survive without Shea being Superman, right? So if there's an off night from some of these stars, I trust the supporting cast around Luka, which, hey, has LeBron James and Austin Reeves, over what the Thunder have, which is Chet Holmgren, who is great, but he's just not as experienced as LeBron and, to a degree, Austin Reeves in the playoffs. So I trust the supporting cast of the Lakers more than the Thunder in those tougher games where the star players don't have it going. And for that reason, the Lakers will set up a boring matchup we've seen plenty of times. In the finals, we have the Celtics, the Lakers, and let me explain to you, as much as this is a probably cliche finals matchup, this is going to get you excited. This is going to get you out of your seat, whether if you're a fan of the teams or not. This is going to be an exciting finals because the Celtics have a 1 championship lead over the LA Lakers, which they won last year. The Lakers are going to want to even that up, man. They can't let the Boston Celtics big brother them. So as far as an organization aspect of it, that's going to be exciting in that regard. Seeing if the Lakers can even up their historic championship title number. Outside of that, this would be the 13th all-time finals meeting. In the first 12, Boston won 9 of those 12. But hey, for you Lakers fans, Kobe and Pau Gasol won the last time these two teams met in the finals. From a coaching aspect, from the star power aspect, from the rivalry organization aspect of it, the legacy-defining moments that this series could provide, there's so many different things that there's to get excited about in this series with the Boston Celtics, the LA Lakers. And as much as I love Luka Doncic, I'm going to come to the same realization as I did last year. The Boston Celtics are the team to beat. They have dominated last year's, and again, I think in that second round against the New York Knicks, that's when they're going to turn that switch. That's when they're going to remind the world and show the world there's nobody on this planet, despite Team USA, that can beat us in a 7-game series. So I'm going to have Boston beating Luka in the finals for the second year straight. I'm going to have Boston repeating as champions. Could that go horribly wrong as early as round 2? Absolutely. But I think Boston at full health is the team to beat. So Boston over the Lakers, and why not? Let's say it. 7-game series, but Boston will come on top. As much as that hurts me to say as a Cavalier/Luka Doncic fan, seeing not only my Cavs lose to the Celtics, but LeBron lose to the Celtics, and also Luka, I have to give you guys my, of course, official prediction, and that is the Boston Celtics. So boring. I understand. I don't want to see it, but that's what I think is going to happen. Episode 271. It is a Thursday episode here for you guys. So let me know in the comments before the playoffs start on Saturday who is or what are your playoff predictions, man. I'm excited to get to it, and I'm excited to see what you guys have to say.